Here we go. The chair's gone! Mommy! Yep. This is not how it's supposed to go. Chair's gone. The was up. It's the last time I leave fast alone. These crazy dark parties. Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know what? I changed my mind about this movie. Because I think I might have said this in my Amazing Spider-Man 1 review, but I said that I liked Amazing Spider-Man more than I did Amazing Spider-Man 2. Watching this today, kind of enjoyed this more. You know, sure, the villain isn't one of the big Spider-Man villains, Electro, but Jamie Foxx has a pretty good performance. So, a little history of this. When I heard this was coming out, and they were going to have the Rhino, the Green Goblin, and Electro, I'm like, it's a lot of villains. The Rhino was only at the beginning as his regular form, Alexei Savage, and then the Rhino at the very end. Green Goblin thing, they bring in Harry Osborn, played by Dane DeHaan. He does a pretty good job, although sometimes it comes off as a little bit whiny. Like when he's asking for help from Electro. I need you, please! Please, I need your help, please! It's a little bit whiny. I don't want to put that up. But I think Andrew Garfield and Dane DeHaan do a good job of playing old friends. The scene where they're catching up in the park or whatever, genuine. I would think they've been friends for a long time. They got that chemistry, friends. The Gwen Stacy aspect of this, you got Peter, who is struggling because he made a promise to George Stacy, her father, the captain guy from the first one, that he would keep her out of it, but he hasn't. He keeps seeing him everywhere, and it's his conscience, of course, and he can't, you know, it's causing him to push Gwen away, but then he comes back to her later in the movie. Yeah, it happens. Now, going into this movie, when I first went to watch it, I was expecting, you know, Michael Massey's character, Mr. Fierce, the gentleman, to have a bigger role. Again, he only shows up at the end of this movie. And it's confusing because they set this up. Okay, I like everything that they did with the father. I liked it because it's you know, we had him pining over Uncle Ben in the original 3 movies, like the first one, and the third one had to do with Uncle Ben again. So put the father front and center, the parents, that they didn't talk about it all in the original Sam Raimi trilogy. Put the parents in the forefront. The movie starts out like right after they left Peter and Uncle Ben and Aunt May's, and they're on a plane, and there's a spy that killed the pilots. Plane's going down. There's a struggle. They're struggling. He's trying to upload something. He does. And then the plane goes down. At least we're led to believe it went down because we don't get to see it. Yeah, and then, you know, because the Spider-Man, the score, man. For some reason, the score to this movie and the score to the first one, that really got me. I like the score for the Amazing Spider-Man movies more than I do the Sam Raimi trilogy, but well, it's not really a score with the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man ones. They got a back soundtrack, but still, score for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is pretty good. Specifically, not so much on TV, but when I went to watch this in the theater, and I was thinking of this while I was watching this, because I remember it. When Electro used his powers, the sound that came out in the theater, even when he's playing the Itsy Bitsy Spider, it just, that sound in the theater was amazing. It was, every time he would use his powers, it'd be the sound. Good in the theater, not so much at home, because you can't have it too loud at home, you know what I mean? Unless you live in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, and yeah, and so Peter finds this hidden train station that his dad was going to, and that's where he uploaded it's called Roosevelt. That's where he uploaded the information. And it's a message, and it turns out he recorded this message right when, because it starts, he's recording a message, then, Peter said, "Hey, Dad," and, because the first one started off with him saying, playing hide and seek, walking into an office and saying, "Dad," even though he was in an office when he recorded. Maybe he had a couple offices, I don't know, but, and if they're playing hide and seek, then why was he recording a message? Confusing. But he leaves a message saying that Norman Osborn set everything up. All right. Everything was said because, like, Aunt May tells him that they were supposedly, according to Norman Osborn, they were traitors, and they were to sell everything that they had on the black market or something. In the message, Peter's dad tells him that his DNA, the Parker family DNA, is what unlocks the thing. Because he's Spider-Man, and that was able to give him powers. To make a cure for Norman and Harry Osborn, they need Peter's DNA. That's what I'm trying to say. And Norman dies. I'm going to say dies, because in the potential third film, Norman was supposed to come back. So I'm thinking maybe what they had in mind was they faked his death because he was turning into the Green Goblin, the actual Green Goblin that would show up in the third film. Because they had plans for a third film, a fourth film, a Sinister Six spin-off, the Venom spin-off, which we got, which we're probably going to get more of the stuff now that Sony has taking Spider-Man back. Would you shut up out there? They're so loud. They're so inconsiderate. People living in this here building. Okay. And Harry figured it out. He needs Spider-Man's DNA because Spider-Man's the only one that, that survived or whatever. And, so, he goes to Peter because he knows Peter takes the pictures, which we never see Jameson or anything to do with the Daily Planet or Daily Bugle, my bad. But he goes to Peter, he asks him, Peter says, "I gotta think about it." He comes back. And Spider-Man shows up and says no. So when Harry finds out that Peter Spider-Man goes, "When you said Spider-Man said no, you mean you said no?" Well, yeah, because he was Spider-Man when he said it. And he figures it out because he knows Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker are dating. So when they're together, he figures out. And she yells out Peter when, after they magnetize the web shooter, he webs her to the car, and she goes, "Peter!" No one else heard that. Not even the cab driver who's right there. His name is Peter. I don't know. How they get rid of Electro handled in this movie, I think they handled him pretty good. Max, I don't know, let's say it back here. Electro, no. Max Dillon, that's his name. Max Dillon, he's unappreciated, but he's saved once by Spider-Man, and he gets upset. He thinks Spider-Man's his best friend. He thinks, he talks to himself as if he's talking to Spider-Man. He gets obsessed with it, but yeah, he gets obsessed. And then they set, he built the electrical grid, and they wanted the Oscorp board of directors or something. They want, cause they don't want anyone who knows about it to know what's going on. So they set up a fake emergency, and he ends up in a tank of electric eels, and they claim him dead. But it turns out instead he turns into Electro, and they planted this thing, and then they set Harry up as an accessory. So they fire him, which they can't do. The board of directors can't fire someone with the Osborn name, because the board of directors work for the Osborns. They cannot fire him. Norman Osborn was the head of the company. When he died, Harry took that job. Harry took that position. They cannot fire him. He is their boss. He can fire them. But no, they fire him, and then they want him removed from the building, and he leaves on his own volition. But I'm sitting there as I eat my lunch, and I'm watching that part, and I'm going, they can't do that. He's their boss, not the other way around. They cannot fire him. And then it's more confusing at the end, after the big battle, when he's sort of recovering from his goblin transformation, because he injects himself with the serum that's supposed to cure the disease, but without Peter's DNA, it wouldn't work. So it just turned him into a goblin creature. They're not very good costume, but. And then after he is defeated, Gwen dies. The bridge scene from she snaps her neck. Which at first I'm like, how did she die? But apparently, if you pay attention, she whacks her head on the concrete when she goes down. We said, oh, it's from the whiplash. I'm like, no, it's from when she cracks her head on the concrete. She's still ever quickly, and she dies. And then Peter goes into exile. He's not Spider-Man anymore. And so then you see Mr. Fierce, the gentleman, Michael Massey, at the end, talking with him, as if this was all set up from the beginning. But is Fierce, if Fierce was working with Osborn, but the board of directors are responsible for Peter's parents' death, are they in the same thing and they just don't know Harry? Maybe they would have explained it in the third film. I don't know, it's just very confusing. Like, was Harry working with Mr. Fierce the whole time? I don't know. And then the end, Peter listens to Gwen Stacy's valedictorian speech, because the beginning of the movie has them graduating high school. I forgot to say that. And he listens to her valedictorian speech because she was late, because he was busy fighting Alexis Savage and stopping these explosive things from going off. So he listens to that, and he goes to fight Alexis Savage, who was now in a big robotic rhino thing, which he didn't need to be robotic. He could have just wore a rhino suit. But the robotic rhino thing, he goes, there's this little kid that tends to be Spider-Man. Real Spider-Man shows up and says, like, good job. He goes away, and you fight him, you get like a manhole cover, and then end credits. Yes, and there was no post-credit scene. There was, but it was just like a little scene from X-Men: His Future Past. So, other than that, there was no post-credit scene. So that was the end. They were supposed to go on to the Venom spinoff, a Morbius film, which we're still getting. We got the Venom, we got the Morbius, Sinister Six, Amazing Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 4, and I think a Black Cat / Silver Sable movie, which we might still get those, especially now that Sony got Spider-Man back for them, which I'm not gonna go into that. But like I said, I actually enjoyed this more than the first one, so I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I'm not sure what I give this Spider-Man, but I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's not that bad of a movie, honestly. 8 out of 10 for me. Before I go, I'm gonna let you know something. After the Spider-Man reviews are done, my reviews are gonna go into my new setup that I have. We're gonna go in. I need to see if I can see a certain. We're gonna go in. Okay. Here it is. It's not the best. I'm gonna get more stuff to set up here, but this is just the. I need to see. You can see the top. You can just a little bit. So I can put the Spider-Man, and that's where I'm gonna sit here, and that's where I'm gonna be. So remember to like, share, and subscribe. It's my new setup here. Hogan. I might change the Hogan poster. I don't know if you can even see it really, but and that's where I put the thing on. So yeah, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.